This week, I've got a quirky couple. I love them. I think they're great. And they live tight. If you want to see frugal, check this out.
If I had to guess, I would say in terms of the entire population, I'd probably be in like the top 1% of most frugal people, maybe top 0.1.
Here's our couch. We got it free. We found this patio furniture for free on Craigslist.
I don't really like to buy anything. In fact, it kind of makes me anxious.
I mean, there's definitely an emotional thing there. You know, anxiety, that's not a good motivator for being frugal. That's not sustainable or healthy. So let's see where they go with it.
Every year or two, I'll get a new pair of running shoes. The last time I bought running shoes is actually a used pair.
I'd recommend at least once a year. You know, I'm like, my goal right now, I'm running every single day, and you know, I wouldn't be buying used running shoes. This is gonna be tough on your feet.
We've decided to invest in maybe cheaper hobbies than most people.
Eclectic as ever. As eclectic as ever. How's it going, Mike?
Board game meetups led me to meeting a few folks that I really enjoy spending time with, and so we get together regularly to play board games.
Chris and Mike, I love these guys. These remind me so much of the two old guys in the Muppets, you know, up in the balcony. I bet it's hilarious. I would join. I think this is great.
Ooh, sick burns.
Yeah,
I don't really feel like we're missing out on anything. We have everything we need, and we're generally really happy.
Good. I mean, you know, everyone's goal is different. Everyone's got a different number when it comes to retirement. Everyone's got their own budget. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And if they're happy, then more power to them.
My name is Tanner Furl. I'm 29 years old. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
All right. So Minneapolis, it depends, I guess, on the neighborhood. It's not the cheapest thing. It's not the most expensive, but he is a software engineer. And I mean, just, you know, by averages, he's doing pretty well.
I plan to retire at the age of 35, and I've saved $380,000 for retirement.
Okay, well, you know, it seems like there's a gap there because he's got to be living super frugal, and he's got to have some relatively low expectations for me to retire that early with that little.
Our house is in South Minneapolis, and I live with my wife, my kid, and 3 cats.
$135,000 a year. That's respectable. I mean, some people are going to say that's a ton or that's not enough, but you know, this is about his goals and where he wants to be in his life.
I've always been the primary income generator in the household. My wife makes a little bit of money from hobbies, and she definitely saves us a lot of money by being the primary cook and home taker.
Amen to that. I mean, the cost of running a household and the labor that goes into it, it's a $1 million job. Like literally over the lifetime, it's cost.
Lean Fire is a subset of people that would like to reach financial independence earlier than, you know, most people in the movement.
So, you know, reaching it early, 35 is an early number as far as an age to retire. And I mean, it would have been impossible years ago, but he's going to make it happen for him.
Generally by saving money at a higher rate than most people in the fire movement.
That's what I'm curious about. Lean Fire, I mean, how much is he saving? It has to be at least 50% of his income in order to be hitting his numbers.
I'd estimate we put about 50% or so of our paycheck, maybe a little bit more, towards savings.
There you go. I mean, it's not a new thing. I mean, I don't know. Just if you've ever heard of Reddit, just go onto Reddit. If you haven't heard, maybe don't go to Reddit. But geez, there's, you know, Lean Fire movement. There's a lot of data.
My personal brokerage account has $221,000 in it. My Roth IRA has $57,000. My health savings account has $26,000 in it, and my 401k has $75,000.
Here we go. Okay, so we're looking at about 40% of his retirement fund is kind of tied up into some, you know, time delayed things that he's not going to be able to touch for a while.
A lot of people in the fire community have really definitive fire numbers. For me, it's a little bit more flexible. My lower bounds for retirement is $625,000 because I figure I need about $25,000 a year to live.
Okay. No mortgage, no car payment, frankly, no other kids. I mean, for just even one kid, that's so tight. I mean, it's hard to do.
So 25K sounds really low, and it is. For a lot of people, depending on where you live and what your risk tolerance is, that might not be completely possible.
Yeah, I mean, risk tolerance alone, what he means there is, you know, you got to really consider what's the worst case scenario of what could happen is going to throw you back into the workforce when you're not
Retiring, it's not about sitting on your couch watching Netflix all day or going to the beach and getting a really nice suntan. It's about getting to do whatever you want in life.
I mean, that should be a goal for everyone. My motivation and my vision for you is to find a job that you go to because you want to, and you had the flexibility of being able to drop it if you
We
need
were
to.
always very frugal growing up. I remember going to the bowling alley. It was always a treat when we got a gumball.
Interesting. I mean, you would think going to the bowling alley itself would be the treat. I mean, the gumball compared to the cost of going is, it's a good thing.
Whenever we wanted something, we would have to spend our own money to buy it or wait until our birthday or Christmas.
That seems so common. I see a lot of people that are super frugal, that are in this lean fire movement, that their parents were tight. It's a big indicator.
That led to me and all my siblings having newspaper routes where we deliver newspapers every day. We looked for other ways to make money as well.
I mean, he's thrifty, that's a core value of being a scout. I saw him there with the scout uniform, and that's something that he's clearly embodied.
My parents just gave me a loan directly. So when I graduated from college, I worked on paying that off for a number of years.
See, a direct loan from parents for college it's going to be such a life changer because, with interest rates, you don't want something hanging around their kid's neck for forever.
I believe the interest rate was 3%. It took me about 5 years to pay my parents.
That's interesting because, I'd like to see when he went to school, is 3% really that competitive of a rate? I mean, at least you're keeping it in the family, it's net
Parents
positive.
back. I could have done it faster had I wanted to, but I figured that the difference would be better spent investing in index funds.
So what he's trying to do there is to beat the spread. And so you would expect that your return on your investments would be better than 3%. Not today.
I always put in as much as I could in order to get the employer match on my 401k.
That's your first step. I mean, if there's one key that I tell anyone, especially if they have an employer match, is to meet that match. It's 100% return on your investment with those dollars.
A little bit after I graduated from college and started making kind of real money in a professional job, I took fire to an extreme that I think generally it's safe to say is unhealthy.
Yeah, that's interesting because, all right, if this guy was living alone, a bachelor, much like our last week's video with reactions, but he's got a family, so
I would get very, very anxious about saving as much money as humanly possible. I would get really, really anxious about making more money so that I could retire.
And that's where you really lose me, because if this is motivated by anxiety, one, it's not sustainable, and two, it's not really going to be coming from a good place of health.
As early as possible, I put things off in my life that I really wanted to do in order to try and retire even earlier.
Yeah, and this is your prime of your life, especially when you've got young kids. Should be really savoring those moments and not putting things off or putting a strain on them for this goal.
I would spend all of my free time trying to make money. I had these ideas for side hustles, and I was doing those things not because I enjoyed them, but because I thought that I'd make a lot of money.
Gosh, the best way to fail at a side hustle is to switch to a different side hustle every single week, month, year. I see people all the time. They don't put the time into their first goal.
And when those things weren't panning out, it led to a lot of frustration.
I see that, especially, it's not necessarily just frustration and anxiety with the thing. It's a lack of patience in general. And that really shows with this whole lean fire.
I was putting off having kids because I wanted to make money.
And kids will do it to you, man. I mean, let's be real. Kids are expensive. It is what it is. Is it worth every penny? Absolutely. I got two, best thing in my life, but it's tough.
Thankfully, I have kind of done a complete 180 on those issues, and I don't have that sort of relationship anymore.
That's what I like to hear. I want him to say that he's not motivated by fear and anxiety to go into this lean fire movement, but he does it for a positive reason.
I'm still very frugal, and spending money still does make me a little anxious, but it doesn't affect me so much, and I've learned that it's okay if it takes me a year or two longer.
A year or two? I mean, Again, a lot of these people, it's still coming from a place of anxiety. And if you were thinking in terms of decades and not years, I think it'd be an overall fulfilling life for him.
We were able to pay basically our entire mortgage and then some, renting out the downstairs of the house on Airbnb.
Look at that Airbnb. I mean, maybe for the area, maybe they were renting it. It was a great deal. I mean, I love house hacking. I think it's a great thing, but not with a kid.
So this used to be the Airbnb space. So we had just a bed down here. I think at one point we had a TV and like a mini fridge and a toaster.
Look at that. I mean, I'm pretty sure you have to have a window for egress. You're going to need a closet. You're going to have those utility things are going to be, I think there's a lot of, maybe some code violations in this one.
I think as we've been together a little longer, my wife is becoming more frugal.
Yeah, I bet it rubs off on you. I mean, it's funny when you start to see the money habits of couples start to merge together over time. No matter what age, they tend to kind of coalesce.
In general, I'm definitely the more frugal one in the relationship. I don't have too many things that I buy on a regular basis outside of, just like food and the mortgage and utilities.
Food, mortgage, and utilities. There's another red flag for me right there. This guy's got a mortgage. He thinks he's going to retire early, and he's still got that mortgage payment. How much of the $25,000?
I know a lot of people spend a lot of money on groceries, and we do to an extent as well, because I do like to eat healthy.
I mean, that's good, especially with the family. You got a young kid. I imagine that you're making your own baby food with that kind of frugal mindset, and you got to have fresh stuff for that.
That said, there's a lot of ways that you can eat healthy and cheap at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the, I get on such a soapbox when it comes to delivery fees. I mean, I couldn't think of a better way to lose money.
Instead of eating a bunch of meat, you can eat a bunch of beans. Beans are super cheap.
This guy's on the beans and rice diet right there. He's going full Dave Ramsey on us. I mean, this is what Dave would call gazelle intensity. He's taking it to a new level. Beans and rice over here.
You can buy a huge bag of beans for, a couple bucks that'll last you months. And the same thing with rice.
Same thing with rice. Well, there you go. Beans and rice, baby. I mean, here's the deal, though, is that's fine if you're a bachelor. That's fine if maybe your wife's into it, but not with a kid.
We're fortunate that we live in Minnesota because there's this awesome nonprofit called Ruby's Pantry.
All right. I mean, this is one of those things where a community really can support you in unique ways. I really hope he's not taking from the opportunity of others, but we'll see.
Hello, I'm here for a pickup. I have 2 bundles.
That takes a bunch of food that would otherwise go to waste. It's things that can't be sold in the grocery stores for whatever reason.
I like that. I like repurposing food. The food waste in America is so high. I mean, between the grocery stores and the restaurants, it's so much more. A majority of the food gets thrown out.
You never know what you're going to get, but for $25 a bundle's about half a carload. They just give you a ton of food.
I love that. We have Second Harvest Food Pantry here in Nashville. You should check them out. They do amazing work taking a donated dollar and multiplying it to so much food.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then you drive off and you have, probably half your groceries for the month, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be such a game changer for so many families. Now, I want to make sure that, families are, the ones that need it are getting it. I don't want to supply to run out because
a lot of the free things we find from kind of where you'd expect, Craigslist, online marketplaces. But we also have kind of garnered a reputation with our friends and family as being frugal and thrifty.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm sure he's going to get into the kid stuff. We got so many things donated when we first bought our house or when we, had a kid.
And so we do end up getting a lot of free things. A family member will see something free on the side of the road and will think that we might like it.
Maybe the cat's outfits were free, but it looked like it was just like a couple free cats. Yeah, we found these cats. We picked them up off the street. They're our cats now.
That's how we ended up getting our running stroller that I used to run with my son.
That's great, man. I mean, I gotta tell you, in our garage, I've got a couple strollers that we got for either free or for dirt cheap because you get on that Facebook marketplace and
we got a bunch of hand-me-downs from my sister who've had kids, and that's all the clothes that our son wears.
That's good. I mean, clothes, you burn through them so quick with a kid. We've got a boy, we've got a girl, and sometimes they literally grow out before you could even wear it.
I think a lot of people look at the FIRE movement and they think that a lot of these people are just not living their lives at all because they are just so busy stashing away money.
Maybe with the lean FIRE movement, but I don't know. You're working to live or living to work, but when you look at a bigger time frame, it really changes the discussion.
I don't think that's a fair representation because in life there's no short supply of experiences.
But there's a finite amount of time, and this is where I think that his relationship with his money and his anxiety, it's the fear of time in the middle.
Most experiences that will make you happy are probably free or extremely cheap.
I don't know. Money can't buy joy. Money can't buy long-term happiness, but man, it sure makes life easier. So, there's some benefit.
Obviously, money can put a roof over your head, put food on the table, but when you're saving money, you're essentially buying freedom. So the best way that you can spend excess money is ironically by saving it to give you more time in your life back.
Okay, see, that's where I like it, where he's talking about how he's buying time back in his life down the road. If you can do it from a purposeful place where I'm doing this, it's not taking away from my current experience with my kids, my loved ones, with my family, with myself, my relationship to myself, and I'm not burning myself out, then it's good. But if it's coming from a place of anxiety or fear of losing that time, you're trading time for dollars, and then those dollars are never going to turn back into time. Because if you're coming from a place of anxiety, that spiral, it just goes down. All right, you're not climbing a ladder. You don't realize it, but you're slipping down. And so that's where, with this conversation of lean FIRE, it can be a really healthy thing, and it can really curtail a lot of impulses and addictions and habits that we have just as people. I've got them, you've got them, we understand. But, if you want an example of someone who isn't in the lean FIRE side, but maybe in the fat FIRE, who has millions and is continuing to work, even in this retirement stage, who has the ability to say yes to purposeful work that he is energized to do, that gets him up in the morning, and is able to say no and walk away if it's not life-giving for him. Go ahead and click on this video right here. Here's a great example of someone on the other side of the FIRE conversation.